like Mike and Aaron was saying, if you look at this picture right here, I actually found this under a floorboard.
Wow.
Out the seismic retrofit in this building. And so, of course, I framed it up, and it really shows you the area in your neighborhood, right? And where it was, 50 years ago, over 50 years ago. Yeah. And so the plant was built in '68 and finished. But, I mean, that house right down here on the corner, that's really the end of it. It was actually a dirt road coming up to the plant. Everything else is pretty much orchards and stuff like that. So, kind of a little bit of history about your neighborhood.
It's not there yet.
Yeah, so this is the original plant right here. No, it wasn't. But yeah, and everything you see here except for the control building and my 2 clear wells is going to be rebuilt as part of this project. So very invasive, and we have to keep the plant running while we're doing all this very invasive work. So yeah, there's no stressors with the employees here. I'm only 36, so
Looking good.
looking good. Thank you. And you can tell here's the artist rendition of the proposed plant. And so this is where we are right here, right? My 2 existing clear wells, and here's the 4 clarifiers that you kind of take back over there. The 6 existing filters are right here, right? And we're building this area right here because this is really the only landscape that we had available, any open area. Otherwise, the others is hills and unusable space to build a plant on. So you really had to, when we did the design, we really had to be conscious of what we had to work with.
And what was there when you started? Where you're building?
Parking lot?
It was just an open lot. You can actually see it right there. It's that blank lot that's facing us.
Okay.
Yep, that's it right there. Yep.
Oh, okay.
And so that was it. And because we didn't have a lot of landscape to work on, open area to work on, and we'll be able to peek out there. There's an electrical pad right here that's actually cantilevered over the hillside, and it has how many pilings? 36. 36 pilings to hold this big electrical pad, and we had to make our own landscape, our footprint. We just didn't have anywhere to put it, right? And so we had to be creative. So. With that, let's go.
What's under the white stuff? That water storage?
Here? Okay, yeah, that's right behind us right here, okay? These are 14.5 million gallon reservoirs, okay? So these 2 ones with the white tops, they're now green, okay? This is the artist rendition before they did the new roofs. It's San Jose water, but we operate it for them, where we push the water into from here for the plant. And this is the Rinconada reservoir, which is over here in this corner, all right? This reservoir starting right here is the beginning of the West Pipeline that feeds all of our retailers, right? Big 72-inch pipeline, right? And then it shoots down this hill right here, dog legs down, and heads out towards the 85, right?
Yep.
85. Yeah.
When you say Rinconada, that means it's the water district's
Yeah,
storage.
this is our storage tank. It's part of the plant. This is San Jose waters, right? And you can tell if you turn around, it's kind of interesting. You can see San Jose reservoirs have been there for quite a while.
Yeah.
Right, those 2. And now look at Rinconada Reservoir. It has no roof on it.
Didn't have a roof.
It was an open air reservoir at the time, and which is now unheard of in drinking water. Everything's covered. So, any questions? Just kind of trying to stall the heat. Hopefully it's going to get cool. Okay, let's head out. From last time you guys came? Yeah. We haven't changed it. Oh, it's cool out.
Thanks. Oh, much nicer now.
That was good that we waited. It's going to be a couple of weeks. So, as Mike and Aaron was saying, our service area is basically heading down 17. You can see Campbell over here with black buildings. Right? We have a turnout to them. Up to the city of San Jose. And then all the way down the mountain through Ames Research Center. Out in that area. As well as Los Altos. So So it's a big swath, over 1 million people. This one plant supplies water to them. The big aspect of it, we're the only plant on the west side. Centuries and penitentiary, they can float off each other. So if one plant goes down, the other one can take up the difference because we're on a common pipeline. We're it. So that's why it's important for this reliability project to be successful, is to provide drinking water to over 1 million people. Because we don't have any other source. We can't tap in. We also have an intertie with SFQC on the east side, which we don't have here on the west side. So they have a lot of tools in their toolbox. Our tools in our toolbox is this plant right here. So it's very important to keep this going. Keep it running. That's my job. Yeah. So let's head on down. We'll take a look. Watch your step.
Where you can see the fish. The fish? What? The fish. They had a big fish, but one of them. Really? Yeah. Fish can't get away here.
Once you walk the sedimentation basin, you take that settled water and bring it over to these filters, right? And it filters down through the media. That's the last time it sees daylight. Now everything's encapsulated. And we had our disinfectant and sent up to the reservoir and then out to the people. So, does that make sense? Yeah. So, I mean, I especially with school kids, oh, what happens if the bird poops in the water? I'm like, okay, well, then I have to explain that once it goes through the filtration process and we have the disinfectant, it really doesn't see daylight until you open your tap.
That's a very good
So, yeah.
question,
It is one they always ask me. You know where kids find it, right? So what we're seeing, so this is the ozone contactor, and Michael's showing you the big green pipe or inlet structure that's kind of down the hill over that side. Okay. And one thing he did notice, there's also a big giant white tank. It's for CO2. Okay. And we're going to be injecting CO2 in the water. We add CO2 to the water, it turns into carbonic acid, and it lowers the pH. Right? And so that's it makes ozonation very efficient, right? As well as coagulation. Lower pH, aluminum sulfate or ferric chloride. We use both as primary coagulants to assist in their use. Right? So in phase 2, we had to build the ozone contactor first, right? And so it's going to come through the ozone contactor, but we don't have any ozone generation yet. So basically, it's just a big flow-through basin for phase 2. Right after phase 2. Then you see these blue pipes, it dips into the ground, makes a common connection before it comes, that big brown pipe comes out. And that's what Mike was talking about. That's our injection point for our primary coagulant. Okay? And it's very interesting. It's a side stream injection. So we're actually pumping the water out of the raw water channel. Just making it serpentine, add energy to the water, then we add the chemical to the water, and mix it up real quick. Right? Add energy to the water. And then it dips underneath the ground again, shoots down that little alleyway there, and comes up to my 4 flocculation sedimentation basins on these blue pipes right here. Right at the influent control structure. So before it enters the ozone contactor. Yeah, because we want to suppress the pH before we hit with ozone. Right? It helps the treatment process. And so it goes through the flocculation sedimentation basin, and after it goes out the sedimentation basin, now that's pretty much the end of phase 2 project. because we're taking that water and sending it to my 6 existing filters. Okay? And once we test that out and it's working fine, and we give the okay, we have a 30-day conditioning test, and we're going to try to break it, right? It's like being able to take a new car and say, I'm going to run it through its paces. If I don't like it, we got to fix it, right? That's what we're going to try to do, and test out the new system, right? Once we accept it, then phase 3 starts, like Mike was saying, right? Phase 3 is just a demo. So now we're treating water through the filters, and all these clarifiers are being tared out. And I'm still not sure how we're going to do it, but no one's giving me a straight answer because we don't want to affect the filtration process. So it's got to be very unevasive.
So filters are that one?
There's 6 right here. There's 2 right here, 2 over here, and 2 up there. They're very large filters, right? So you will be seeing trucks going up and down. There's no way around that because we got all the time. All the piping that supports it and everything like that. Everything goes around here. And we have to do that to open up the footprint for our new infrastructure. So in the case of those 2 clarifiers, we're going to build 12 new filters. Okay? Where Flock 4 is, right here, is my new ozone generation building. Right? And then where Flock 2 is a new chlorine contact chamber for our primary disinfectant. Right? And so that's phase 4. So once phase 4 comes up, right, we get everything working, we test it out, right? Now we're getting ready to add ozone. Now our contactor is just a contactor, it's just water's just flowing through it. Now we'll be able to generate ozone on site using liquid oxygen, and we break it O2 apart, shove it into the other O2 to make O3, right? The half-life of ozone is 15 minutes, so we have to inject it in the water very quickly. Yeah, and so that's why you can't like bring it in as a chemical. We have to generate it on site.
You mentioned chlorine. Are you using chlorine at all now?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's same amount, greenhouse, or is that 20%?
We're thinking. Good.
It talked about raw water ozone.
Yes. I was going to get to that. So to answer your question, yes, we're required by regulations to add chlorine, primary disinfectant, to the water leaving the facility. Now you can imagine, and this is a great question. There's 2 forms of chlorine that we can add. Just regular chlorine, which is free, we call it free chlorine, or we chloraminate. All right. Free chlorine is just like, everybody remember Alka-Seltzer, right? Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. It gets in the water and bubbles real quick and then it's gone. All right. That you can kind of look at that as free chlorine. It wants to do its job and be done with it, right? And so Mountain View's, I don't know how many miles. Anybody got a guess? Okay, let's go with 15. It's way down there, right? And if I was adding free chlorine to the water, right, about 2 miles, 3 miles, maybe 4 miles down, it would start to dissipate. And the Mountain View would get 0. Well, we're required by regulations to have a 0.2 parts per million chlorine residual in the water at our end user, right? Well, we wouldn't be able to achieve that. So what we do is we add a little bit of ammonia to it. And that's what we call binder, right? So if we have 5 parts of ammonia, or chlorine, we add 1 part of ammonia, right? And what that does is like adding silly putty around that Alka-Seltzer with a little hole in it. That Alka-Seltzer is going to work a lot longer, right? So now it's not as aggressive as an oxidant, it's a weak oxidant, but it would keep that chlorine residual all the way down the pipeline to all of our retailers to assure safe drinking water. And it's disinfectant, so it's no bacteriological growth in the water.
Doesn't that affect the taste if you put ammonia in the
If we had
water?
too much of it, yeah. So we're required. We do a 5-to-1 ratio, right? And so you don't taste it. We're talking parts per million, very small amounts, but it has a very long-lasting effect.
Not doing ozonation.
Not yet. No, not today.
Even when we do ozonation.
So ozonation is my raw water ozonation.
It's raw.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's coming into the plant. My raw water is coming to the plant. Then we hit it with ozone, and it starts the decomposition, the breaking down of organic and colloidal material in the water, right? And that assists also in my coagulation process, flocculation, and sedimentation process. The other current 2 treatment plants do have ozonation, but it's intermediate ozone right after the sedimentation basin. It's in the middle of the plant, right? And there's pros to cons to both. But because Rinconada has, we added so many different sources, during the design phase it was thought to be a better option to have raw water ozonation. And so that actually, again, we'll hit it with ozone and it starts the actual treatment process of breaking down the organic colloidal materials. We're good?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're gonna have ozonation plant spot.
So we're going to have ozonation generation building, and ozone is an electrical process, like I said earlier, where you take liquid oxygen, which is pure oxygen, O2, and we split that molecule up, take those free radicals, and put them in O2 to make O3, right? And that free radical wants to go away. It wants to do its job very quickly. That's why it has a 15-minute lifespan, right? So we inject it in the water real quick. It does its job, right? What comes off of it, if there's any little ozone left over, we destruct it. We run it through a destruct. It's basically it's a catalyst, heat it up to a certain degree, and it breaks it down, right? And then what you have left is O2. So
Does it take up space?
it's going to take up basically the circumference of this clarifier. It's a big building. So
You need to bring in liquid oxygen.
we'll have a liquid oxygen tank here, right? We'll store it on site, and and it's really safe. You know, we'll have evaporators to break it down, liquid to gaseous. So it's quite the process. It's actually a pretty good process.
Power needs to go up?
Our power needs will go up. Yeah. Just for giggle's sake, Rinconada used to have the highest power consumption of the district because we're at this level, and if you can tell, the level of my reservoirs are a little higher, right? And my basement, which is about 6 stories below us, have these giant booster pumps that push the water up to the reservoir, right? The other plants are more gravity. They are gravity. So once they get the water, it treats it because gravity's down, right? Well, I got to lift it up to those reservoirs, and then at the Rinconada Reservoir, it's gravity all the way down the mountain, and Campbell, Los Santos. So until the advanced recycle plant came online, we were the highest energy consumption. But what's nice about it is we're on this thing called Purple Power, where I'm only charged about 4 to 7 cents a kilowatt hour ish, rather than 13 to 26 cents. So,
And it's green. And
it's a green energy. Any other questions? I can talk about this all day.
I see trucks parked on Moore in the mornings when I'm walking my dog. Are those, what's?
Oh, on more by Safeway?
Yeah.
They're like staged and ready to go?
That's what I see.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're not supposed to be there. So I'm glad you bring that up.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to be staged there. They're chemical trucks for my plant. And in their contracts, they're not supposed to stage there.
And you're probably seeing it just before 8 o'clock or other things like that? Like there's certain delivery times that we negotiate with them?
I walk my, it's about 7:30.
Yeah.
Right, so we need to, we'll work with them.
They come from Bay Point, and so they kind of, depending on traffic, they'll get here later, sooner. They like to get here sooner than later, and then they'll stage down there. And then we've had this issue. So if you see them down there, you give Tony a call. You can always give me a call here at the plant, and we'll work with certain vendors. It's usually Hills Brothers.
Yeah, it's usually either Moody or Corey.
Yeah. Because they come out of Bay Point based on traffic. They get paid by the load, so they want to get here early, get done, go get another load.
How many of those trucks?
It's really dependent on the season. So in the hotter weather, like today, we hit 80 million. So we have to calculate our chemicals based on our demand, right, and our usage. So in the summer, we can get 5 or 6 loads, depending on the different chemicals that we have here housed at the plant. 5 or 6 loads. We've seen the highest of 9 to 10 loads.
And the other thing is Steve's doing a great job is operating the plant while we've got these other things going on, is that sometimes the contractor will need to take the delivery area or the way to the delivery area out, and unfortunately then we'll be trying to stack in even more loads on so they may take out a Tuesday, and then he'll have to schedule all his loads to come in on Monday and then on Wednesday, so sometimes there's
on Saturday,
there's even more truck traffic on that particular thing, just because there's, as you can see, they're still doing a lot of piping work and other things, and so we can't get the truck, moving the trucks around, can actually cause can have us an even higher amount of loads per day.
It's really a dance, if you think about it. We got a lot of entities at the plant wanting to do what they need to do. Well, we have to operate the plant, effectively. We can't run out of chemical. that's a bad
Or
day.
not on the
Yeah, that's a
website,
bad
right?
day. But thank you for bringing that to my
Yeah,
attention.
yeah.
We'll take care of that.
Oh, 'cause they're-
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a little cooler out here. That's good.